All right, let's get started. Well, thank you, Alvin, for joining us. Really appreciate you doing this. I know we've been working together for a bit, but you're a busy man, so I appreciate you taking the time out to come on the call. How
Yeah,
you doing?
absolutely. Appreciate it.
Excellent, cool. Well, let's start off. Just maybe if you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and I know you've got several businesses. Just give us a little bit of background. Yeah, start there.
Yeah, sure. Residential real estate broker here in the a major market. We're in the Dallas area. We've got obviously a pretty sizable population. We've got a pretty broad brush. We don't have just one simple. We're not a second home market, obviously. Been doing this for about 22 years. We've got a small team. And we just try to take as good a care of customers as we can. I've got a couple of other small kind of segments of our business that are in and around the real estate business, perhaps. But our main bread and butter is residential real estate.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you've got, I know, the wholesaling business on top of that. There's quite a lot going on. You're a busy man, that's for sure.
Well, we're just trying to take advantage of any and all aspects of real estate transactions, kind of from top to bottom.
Definitely. Good stuff. Well, just thinking back to before you were actually working with us, because I know we've been working for quite a few months together now. Just if you can, just tell us a little bit about some of the issues that you're actually facing. I know real estate's obviously gone through a lot of changes. The market continues to shift. But kind of earlier in the year, what were some of the things that you were really coming up against that actually were top of mind?
Yeah, so one of the big challenges, we don't have a lead generation problem, at least on my team. We have multiple areas and sources that we get leads. Obviously, sphere of influence, past customers. Those are the ones that you want to get real deep and take super, super good care of. But then you also have a lot of low hanging fruit in our marketplace, which is just internet based leads. And so that was one of the biggest pieces of our puzzle that we didn't have an issue generating them. We had an issue communicating with them, cultivating them, and really trying to put them into our active funnel. So that was one of the big challenges. And so that's where you've kind of really come into place with your ISA team. So, we've had multiple ISAs in the past. I am personally not one that loves to get real deep with ISAs on the training side. So
Mhm.
that is, and maybe it's a character flaw on my side. I'll absolutely fess up to that, but it's not one thing that I really enjoy to do. And so that's one gap and hole in our business that you've really been able to fill, which is let us bring the lead in, and you were also doing that as well. So some components of both of those, but really it's working, calling, cultivating, and putting them into our funnel and setting appointments for us to have conversations with folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear so often it's just about the consistency. I mean, honestly, if everybody was able to be super consistent, we wouldn't have a business. But that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, and we know realtors aren't the best cultivators of leads. They like to get out. We like to get out and work and get face to face. Well, there's a lot of work that goes into bringing that customer in to that point, and that's where I think lots of real estate agents specifically just are not. They're not good grinders in that space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, it's not ultimately why they got into it, right? It's about the relationship. It's about being in kind of in your sweet spot of being able to really deliver value and following up on people that don't even want to hear from you or don't want to, don't even call you back is not really, doesn't feel very good, right? And it takes a
Right.
lot of energy.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know you've been doing this a long time. So like, can you tell me some of the other things that you've tried beyond the ISA team, like to fix this problem? Before you were working with us, I'm sure like many people out there, you've tried, pretty much everything under the sun. So what
Yep.
have you tried and why ultimately didn't those things work out for you?
Well, I think that we've tried probably four, maybe five different outsourced ISA companies that say they are going to contact your leads and set appointments, right? It's not a crazy difficult business model to wrap your head around. I think the reality of what most of those companies do is they fall far short of what my expectations are of what should be done. And so, you sign up with them, you get in there, they sound like they're going to be your silver bullet, and then 30 days later, they're as worthless as they were, and you've gotten just as little from them as you did before you paid them. So I think their efficacy is just they can't follow through. They can't do what they say they do, and I don't need that. I'm not here to waste money. I've done plenty of that over my career. And so we're trying to find folks that can execute, and you've been able to do that, and we've been able to have more appointments and conversations set through the same lead generation, but you've been able to do that way more efficiently and at a higher level than any of the other outsourced ISA companies, because I've tried 5 of them, and I'm not going to name names, and we've even brought ISAs in-house where they've been in the Philippines. We've got a dialer, we've got text messaging set up, but I'm not a great manager of them. And then maybe they are, maybe they aren't the right fit. And so again, that's the piece that I don't want to spend a lot of my time doing. I want to spend more time doing other things that really affect our bottom line. And having you come in and do that for us has effectively replaced all of that for me personally.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Well, look, I know before we were working together, and I always ask this question, like cards on the table. Everybody coming into this will have some sort of concerns. Is it going to work out? Are they going to do what they say they're going to do? All of that. So, what were some of the things that were like the biggest doubts that you had on your mind when you were coming in and starting to work with us? And ultimately, what actually tipped your decision when it came to that?
I mean, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned just a moment ago. Everybody says that they can do the same thing and do
Mm.
it at a high level and create a good return on investment, have trackability, have transparency. And I've just found that the majority of that is all BS, quite frankly. And I think what tipped it for me, so all my concerns were the same ones. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy Simon, he says he's saying the same thing. This is just a repeat of another chapter that I've already closed over and over again. And so again, it was the same concern is yeah, sure you can.
Right.
But what ultimately kind of tipped it for me personally was the ability for me to be able to have a conversation with you is hey Simon, what's going on, where are we at, versus an underling that is just going to tell me what I want to hear, and I don't need that. I'm not interested in that. So the reason why I feel like this relationship works is because of you and my open communication and our open communication and how willing you are just to have a conversation. Look, I know you're a busy guy. I'm not trying to soak up all your time. We're both busy, but to be able to communicate with you specifically has really been the game changer for me. I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it work, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of businesses out there where it's a machine, right? But yeah, I mean that's a big part of the way that we like to handle things is get super hands on. So that's good. And then just maybe we'll just switch gears a little bit to results. Like I know we've been working together, since it's about end of Q1. I think we've delivered for you now over 70 appointments at this point, actually getting on beyond 80. Um, what has that experience been like? And if anything you can share, in terms of under contract, like what I know you had a couple. I think you had at least one double ender fairly early on. So
Yep.
how's that been?
Yeah. So again, I think I'm looking at things from a return on investment standpoint. So with the conversion that we're getting and the leads that you and your team are setting for us, I mean, we're probably, and I don't have those numbers directly in front of me, but I'm just kind of guessing that we're probably around a 4 or 5x ROI. And again, I could take a deep dive and look into that, but that's my guesstimation, and wasn't quite prepared for that question. Sorry, Simon. But
Yeah,
I
that's
could
good.
definitely kind of look into that. But I'm just saying, from the outside looking in, from the transactions that we've closed, that we're probably in that ballpark. I mean, I know we are.
Yeah, that's
And
great. Yeah,
it's not just I'm sorry to interrupt you, not just the
good.
fact that we're closed, it's what we have in our pipeline that is now um, actively looking, soon to be looking to buy and sell. And that's really what we want to be able to do, is continuously stack our pipeline with folks that don't yet necessarily know, like, or trust us.
Yeah, that's completely greenfield, right? And I've been saying this to a lot of our clients as we're kind of going into the end of the year, beginning of next year. I mean, with quite a few players kind of pulling out, obviously, the ad spend is kind of fluctuating, the cost for advertising, but it's really a game of like getting set up for a really strong Q1 at this point, which I think is exactly to your point of having that pipeline and getting there first, ultimately.
Yeah, and part of that ROI is what we have sort of calculated within our pipeline, right? So it's not just all closed deals that I can't just say, hey, look, in 4 months, you're going to have a 5x ROI in your pocket. But we know with our metrics and what we have in our pipeline that I know what that's going to look like in 90 days within reason. And that's really one of the keys that we want to continue just pumping people into our pipeline that are active, that we're building relationships. They're beginning to continue to grow, know, like, and trust us. And they didn't know us from Adam, a month, 6 weeks ago, 2 days ago, whatever that might be.
Yeah, it's that kind of consistency, I guess, predictability, ultimately.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you and I both know that in the real estate business, it's difficult unless you are actually out there every day shaking hands and you're grinding to meet new people, to put new people in your pipeline. It's easier said than done. And with what we do outside of what you are complementing and bringing those two together, it's we have a healthier pipeline than we've had in quite a while.
That's
And it
great.
takes work. I'm not saying that, hey, call Simon and it's going to be your silver bullet, but um, with implementing you and your marketing team and your ISA team and the appointments that you're setting for us, and the basic blocking and tackling and staying on top of people's calendars, top of mind, we pack more people in our pipeline than we have in a while.
That's so good to hear. I love that, especially in this market, right? Because I think everybody's like having to work 3x just to get the same number of transactions, honestly, right now.
Yeah,
So
so that's another reason why we want to be able to put as many people in there as we can, because we know that there's some challenging times right now, and hopefully that'll turn a corner soon, but we'll see.
that's great. Well, I know we're coming to the end here. I know we're helping you out on a couple of other businesses at this point. I think, the interesting thing about this kind of service is the underpinnings, the consistency, the nurture, the follow up, the guarantee. It can apply pretty well into, some of the other areas. Like I know we talked about window replacement on the wholesaling side as well. So personally, I've really enjoyed this partnership. I think it's been really great for both of us. So I guess just to wrap up, I would just ask you, like, if there's anybody out there who's kind of considering, maybe they're just on the fence. Do you have any parting advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the majority of people who are at a level where they're looking at services like yours have more than likely probably tried some before. Um, they've gone with outsourced ISA companies. They've tried to do it themselves. They try to bring it in house, which we've tried to do as well. And unless you are really great at that training, the training, the onboarding, the day-to-day operational things, then knock yourself out. that's not one thing that I personally want to spend a lot of my time doing, nor am I that great at it, right? So I want to bring an outside person in to do that, and I've tried to find them. And so what I would say to somebody else would be, hey, tell the others, have a conversation with Simon, with your team and what you guys have to offer. Um, in my opinion, you're going to be let down by the majority of them. Again, there may be some that are out there, but the ones that we've gone with and us trying to do it in-house on our own, it's just not been a great experience. And we've not had a real good, consistent return on investment. And it's taken a lot of time away from other things for me personally.
Got it. Got it. That's great. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time again. I think, like you said, you've got a pipeline that's stacked up for the rest of the year. And I think going into next year, I'm super hopeful that you're going to have a fantastic Q1. So thanks again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Simon. Let me know if you need anything from me on our current campaigns, and I look forward to us continuing to work together.
Yeah, we'll do. All right. Thanks, Alvin. Cheers.
Cheers.